The thoughts and opinions on Just Some Podcast are of the hosts and guests and do not represent the views of organizations that employ them or they volunteer for. They are also not responsible for spontaneous black holes or nuclear wars that may occur. You have been warned.
Well, it's been 10 long years since the sun has shined my face. Since I made my way out west, since I've been tied to fate. Here don't hold a candle to that home I left behind. I need that southern comfort to ease my troubled mind. Yeah.
Well, Tom, that was a little bit of a different lead-in into our show. That was actually our guest. That was his band, the Bayou Bandits. And we're going to do this as a very special episode, Tom. So we're going to just jump right into it. We want to welcome Joshua Strickland to the show. Josh, how you doing?
Hey, good. How y'all doing?
Good. Tom?
Well, I would say so far it's football Sunday, and we're recording while the Cowboys are playing. So I know Ben is, happy at the moment. But, I mean, he's a Cowboys fan, so he's sure to be disappointed come December. So
Easy.
Yeah. No, my team plays tomorrow, the Saints. So I'm anxious to see how we gonna do tomorrow night.
Yeah, I am a Browns fan, and apparently they forgot the memo they were supposed to be good this year.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so, of course, I'm a Browns fan, so I wasn't expecting much in the first place. So that's one of the beauties of being a Browns fan. You're never disappointed because that's how you start.
Yeah, if you don't set the bar too high, you can't be let down too far.
Well, see, the Saints and the Cowboys, you guys have those seasons where you guys go to the Super Bowl, so you guys always have that flash of maybe this is going to happen again. As a Browns fan, I'm like, no, I'm just not. So there you go.
Well, at least LeBron was able to bring y'all a championship since no one else can.
oh, ouch, because then he left us. So thanks, Josh. So, Ben, let's get into this.
Let's jump into this. So actually, I was perusing social media the other night, and a video from ZDoggMD had come on, and it was talking about a nurse getting doxed and fired. And that nurse was Joshua Strickland. So we reached out to him. We're like, you want to come on the show and just talk about kind of what happened, and figured we could discuss it some. So we reached out to him, and he was gracious enough to come on the show. So, that's kind of where we're at.
Awesome.
I would say, Josh, we really appreciate it. Anything like this, we want to cover that tries to help nursing in general. And I think your case, while it is terrible for you from what I understand of it, hopefully something good in the end will come out of this, or maybe we'll learn some kind of lesson. I think starting off, though, it might be important for most of the people listening to understand what doxing is, because they may not be aware of that term. So doxing is basically, well, in this case and in most cases, you don't like something on social media posted by somebody. So in order to bully or pick on them, you gather up a bunch of usually personal information and then try and publish it or use it against them in some way. And that's the long and short of what happened in this case. Is that correct, Josh?
That is correct, because to be quite honest, I didn't even know what doxing was until it happened to me. So, yep, that's what happens.
So can you kind of fill us in on what exactly transpired?
Yeah, no worries. So I was new to this unit. It was a med psych unit. So it was like a hybrid floor, And so you treat medical and their psychiatric issues that they got. So, like on most normal psych units that are lockdown units, they don't really treat the medical issues. They only treat like the psychiatric exacerbations, but
Right.
But they're coming up with these floors, for like instance, if a patient has BPH, then we're treating them up there for it along with his schizophrenia or whatever, psychiatric issues that he has, or he's got CHF or things like that. We're also treating that as well in conjunction with the mental health disease that they got going on. So anyways, I was rounding on the floor doing a med pass. And normal protocol is whenever you're rounding on your patients in the morning doing med pass, you do like a mental health assessment, like a mental status exam. So basically what that entails is, are you feeling any sort of depression? Are you having any sort of suicidal or homicidal ideations? Are you having any auditory hallucinations, visuals, things like that? And so this patient in particular, I asked those standard questions, and the patient denied having any of those things. And so, typical nursing question, I say, well, is there anything that I can help you with? And the patient responds, yeah. And I said, well, what's that? And she says, well, you can fuck off and die. And it kind of took me aback,
All right.
because I'm not psych by trade. So I was just kind of like, well, yes, ma'am. I'll try my best. We'll continue to monitor. I'll be back to check on you if I haven't died yet,
Right. I mean, you tried to kind of laugh it off, like.
Oh yeah,
well,
I completely laughed it off. And so, anyways, so later on that day at lunchtime, I went off the unit and I posted a selfie on Nurses with Cards. And Nurses with Cards has like 300,000 people on it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I blurred out my barcode scanner and everything like that. And in the status, I wrote, first day of work going great. Ask the patient if they're having any sort of issues. Patient states no. Ask the patient if there's anything I can help them with. Patient states fuck off and die. We'll continue to monitor. It was funny.
Right.
It got like over 6,000 likes in 3 hours. I mean, it went completely viral. Everybody, there was no HIPAA violation. There was no patient identifiers. There was no nothing, And it went completely viral, and everybody was laughing, that's a normal, welcome to psych, that's a normal Tuesday, and then going on. And so it was funny. And so it went completely viral. So the next day, around 11:50, 11:45-ish or so, I get called into HR. And I'm like, oh, what the hell? Whenever you get called into HR, that's never good. And
right.
Not traditionally.
They call me in, and they're like, hey, Josh, have you ever heard of Nurses with Cards? And I'm like, yeah, I didn't think anything, because I didn't say anything bad or anything. And they're like, well, somebody and mind you, I'm in Arizona. So somebody from Massachusetts took a screenshot of your post and blew it up, completely micro analyzed it, whatever the case. And they were able to tell the healthcare company network that I worked for, which was, they were able to see the logo of where I worked. And because it had gone viral, they sent it not only to Arizona, but they also sent it to our corporate headquarters. And so HR is like, well, you didn't violate HIPAA or anything, but you used our logo without permission. So me and the chief nursing officer are going to converse with one another and see what plan of recourse that we're going to have for you. So I say, okay, yes, ma'am, I understand. I had no problem admitting what I even showed them the post, and they were laughing it off because they thought it was pretty funny themselves. So I said, listen, if y'all are going to fire me, I'd appreciate knowing sooner than later, because I don't want to go my whole day worrying if I'm going to get fired.
Right, yeah.
And so 5 minutes later, they come down on the unit and are like, hey, Josh, you can relax. Don't worry. We're not going to fire you. Just consider it a lesson learned. No harm, no foul. Next time you take a selfie on your phone, because I wasn't on company computers or anything, just make sure the badge is off. I said, okay, I understand, whatever the case. And then about 4 hours later, so around 4 o'clock, it was like 3:55-ish, they call me back up and say, well, Josh, we submitted our recommendation corporate, and they decided to override our decision, and so now we are going to have to proceed with your termination. And I said, what? I said, for what? I said, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't violate any patient privacy. I didn't defame the hospital. I wasn't talking bad about anybody or anything like that. But because it had gone so viral and it was sent to corporate headquarters, they got me on unauthorized use of the company logo.
That's pretty weak.
Oh yeah, it was shitty, dude.
So did they ever show you, talk to you, explain more what this person from Massachusetts had sent, or expressed why they were so upset?
No, they just showed me a screenshot with my badge blown up, super pixelated, and you could make out which was backwards on the badge. Didn't say anything other than it was in Massachusetts.
Wow.
Did you make enemies in Massachusetts at some point that you were
Dude,
unaware
I don't
of?
know. Dude, I'm from South Louisiana, man. I don't know anybody or anything up in Massachusetts. So later on that day, I was actually more or less just being kind of a smart ass. I was like, hey, whoever turned me in, screenshotted my picture, thank you very much. I was now terminated. And so that went even more viral, dude. I think by now there's probably at least 100,000, 200,000 people involved and supporting me in that case for wrongful termination and things like that. Dude, it got so bad. I received over 1,000 messages in 24 hours. People blew up Facebook pages. I was like a trending hashtag. They had to like delete their page and delete all these comments and then restart their page, and people were blowing up the HR phones and all that other stuff. Man, it was everybody came running to my defense, man. It was overwhelming, but all
So
good, good overwhelming.
did the parent company that was involved in your termination, did they ever reach out to you?
Oh,
Did they
God,
ever try
no.
and retract?
Nope.
No. So they just said, we're done with you, wash their hands and moved forwards.
Wash their hands. Well, now because it's gone so viral that if they were to offer me my job back, I think that it would embarrass them more. It would make them look one of those, oh man, we screwed this up moment.
Right.
And I think they're probably too prideful to do that.
Did Nurses with Cards, any of the moderators or anybody reach out to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Kelly England, the founder of Nurses with Cards, reached out to me, and they all agreed that it was wrong what happened to me, and they were extremely sorry and overwhelmingly supportive. And yeah, man, I was reached out to by everybody, because I take responsibility for what I did. I mean, I posted it, but the thing is, there was no violation of patient privacy. There was no HIPAA violation. There was no medical diagnosis. There was no defamation to the medical facility that I worked at all. I mean, Nurses with Cards was invented for RNs and LPNs and aides and all those folks to be able to vent, and that's pretty much what I was doing. Yeah, it blew up from there, man. It skyrocketed like crazy.
Wow. I mean, and I've had not quite to that extreme, but I mean, even instances of groups, even as small as like 16, I have posted something and then my administration call, hey, you need to delete that. It's like, okay. So, I mean, I kind of get that. Obviously not to the extreme of getting fired for quote unquote using their logo. And it's not like you said, it's not like you defamed the company and were like, screw them. It was just happened to in the picture, and some wonderful person apparently decided to wreak havoc in your life for no apparent reason other than just to be a spiteful asshole, it sounds like.
Man, I tell you what, whoever it was, they have a shitty life.
My question is, well, I don't know if it's my question. It's, what do you think in retrospect, other than not having the badge in the picture? Is there anything else about that perhaps you look back and regret? Knowing what you know now, would you have even posted anything with or without the badge in it?
Knowing what I know now,
Yeah.
is that, I try to give most folks the benefit of the doubt, because most folks are good people. Everybody talks about all these bad people in the world. Well, a vast majority of your everyday common folks are good folks that mind their business and don't want to cause harm or do an injustice to someone else. But I guess what I would do differently is, I don't really know what I would do differently. I mean, I guess I wouldn't give people as much benefit of the doubt, because I mean, there is clearly somebody in Massachusetts that's a fucking asshole.
Well, I guess what I want to know is, there are people out there listening to this that they're going to try and picture what they would do next. And I think there's really two ways we as a profession can learn from you taking the time, and thank you for sharing your story. Is A, we can try and be as careful as possible and try and obliterate any sense of humanity from our pictures. Or B, we can just take a stand and say, no, you don't get to just bully people because you don't like something.
I think
so. That's why, I guess that's what I'm getting at. Would you change anything and say, no, let's run it? And I would say they need to be a better human being and not do some lateral violence. Or B, just sanitize everything.
I would say no, because I've worked hard to get my license, and I'm very proud to be an RN. I mean, it's like I said on another podcast that I had done, we can all remember, and I had never had a medical background other than the stuff that I had done in the Army. And I wasn't a medic in the Army, but I had gone through basic medic courses like battlefield first responder, combat lifesavers, things like that. But I went straight into school to get a BSN. I was never a CNA. I was never an LPN. I was never an ADN. I was never nothing, And so I would have to sit at the table for 4 and 5 hours at a time and read that med surge book. So I worked hard, just like everybody else did, to get my license. But at the same time, the type of person that I am, that I was raised to be, and the stuff that I've done in my life before I was ever even an RN, I'm not the type of person to really sit back and try to be censored, because whenever you don't do anything wrong, but you still have to watch your ass, that's when it's not a problem with yourself. It's a problem with everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Because there's certain things that you can say that you don't mean absolutely anything by it, but because someone else takes offense, now you're fired from it. You know what I'm saying? The world has gotten so politically correct that if you blow your nose the wrong way, someone can take offense to it. And especially as a male in a predominantly female dominated field, such as being a nurse, you already have to watch your ass in one way, because if you accidentally bump into one of your colleagues, or like me in the South, a lot of us, we call, like even my mom and my daddy, everybody, we say darling, sweetheart. That's just how we talk, you know. I mean, we're very Southern folks. But you call somebody darling, next thing you know, it's sexual harassment. So now it's gotten to the point that you can't even vent on a post without having to try to be moderated, say what you want, and do that. It's ridiculous, dude. So I think people either need to get tougher, or, you know, they need to go live in a bubble by themselves.
Well, I lived in Alabama for many years, and I would say what you said about the colloquialism, like honey in Alabama is everywhere. Everybody's honey. Little boys, little girls, aunts, uncles, everybody's honey. So I completely have heard that. I've been in that environment. I guess what I want us to take away from this, and what your thoughts on this are, for one, sharing your story, and two, what can we do as a profession moving forwards, is how do we combat this? Because honestly, based on what I know of your story and having talked to you now, is it does not seem like this was a case of someone trying to help. There was no input. There was no critical evaluation or constructive criticism, I guess, where they were like, hey, this guy maybe shouldn't have put his badge in, which I'm not even saying was their job to monitor. That's not their job to monitor. But that's not even what they said. It was clear intention to cause havoc for no reason other than to cause havoc.
Yep.
Well, dude, if I was like that person in Massachusetts and took a picture of every single person on Nurses with Cards, there would be over 100 to 200,000 nurses that would be fired today if they were, because dude, I'm sure you can probably think of either yourself or someone else or your friend or whatever the case that has pictures of them and their coworkers at the nurse station. It probably has their badge in it. People probably know where they work. And I just so happened to be at the right place at the wrong time. I took a picture with my badge on it, and it was unauthorized. It wasn't, the HR they acknowledged that I didn't violate any sort of HIPAA or defamation or anything like that. It's just, they literally said that because I used their logo, and I was unauthorized to
Well, and
do
again,
so.
I also think that part of this is our response to overbearing administration. I think this is a two-pronged problem, that your case, which is unfortunate for you, and I can't tell you, I feel terrible for you.
I appreciate that.
But what I'm hoping, though, is that, first of all, I'm hoping that something good has come out of this. Like, you got a new job that you love. I don't know that part. You know, I was like, I'm not even going to bring up anywhere. He probably doesn't want to say what country he lives in.
Oh, man, dude,
now.
I will never take another picture. Well, I might take a picture of me in scrubs, but it's going to be in like a completely white room with no nothing on there.
My name isn't Josh.
My name is not
I'm not
Josh.
here.
These are not scrubs.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I was going to say is I wasn't even going to bring that up. I hope, though, what the people listening and what we at our podcast can try and do is, one, combat nurse on nurse issues like this, and two, combat administrations overstepping and cut back on them being overbearing, because those are two things that I have either been part of or witnessed. And it is always a shame when you're stepping back going, nobody really knows what happened, and yet they just came down and made a ruling that now has affected people in a negative way. And I really, truly wish we could get to that.
Well, it's like HR, whenever they first told me that I wasn't fired, the reason they said that I wasn't fired is because they had received nothing but compliments on me about, good patient care, and gotten along with all my coworkers, and everybody was real satisfied with my performance. But the problem is you got people that are way, 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 way up in the flagpole that are running these healthcare corporations that have never been in a code, that have never pushed a damn med cart, that have never been in a C. diff room, that have never put a Foley in, that have never done anything, making decisions on people that have been in those situations whenever they've never even been in the trenches themselves. You know what I'm saying? So to lose an RN or LPN or a CNA, done all these great patient care things, or that's worked, because y'all know how it is. You work your butt off whenever you're on the floor. And somebody that's never been in anything like that to just at the drop of a hat say, oh, you're gone. You know, it's like, dude, come do what I do or what any of these other RNs and all these other great healthcare workers do versus sitting at your damn little laptop up there wherever you are, and then we can talk.
And I think Ben can agree to this or maybe give his point of view, but not only is it detrimental to you, I think it provides a moral injury to those around you. Like, so now they're like, so now what happens to me? So now if somebody doesn't like me, do I get in trouble? So it doesn't matter what happens, I can be in trouble even if I don't do anything necessarily wrong. How do they, that's my question to those administrations is, it's not just impacting Josh Strickland that day. It impacted all the nurses around you as well.
Yeah.
And how does American administrations in healthcare expect us to keep healthy staff nurses when this is the type of downfall or outcomes that they're producing?
But to me, this would be no different than if he was walking through the grocery store and someone says, "Hey, how was your day?" And he's like, "Oh, I got told to fuck off."
Yeah, it should not have been any different than that.
No, and he would not have been fired for that.
Yeah.
If it was in a grocery store, but because it was on social media and because not just 2 people heard it, but 6,000 people seen it, or 100,000 people, or whoever the hell it was, that's when it became a problem. Because I don't know if it was because of the use of the F word along with the logo unauthorized or whatever the case may be. But yeah, somewhere along the line, they made that determination that it was an unauthorized usage and it shouldn't have been. I think it's, personally, my opinion is, I think it's bullshit, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, I also think, and I've said this many times on the show, is when people ask me what's the worst part of nursing and they're expecting me to say C. diff rooms or cleaning up stool or something like that, I say other nurses because of stuff like this. Seriously, we, for some reason, and I don't know what your background before you did the med psych was. Me, Ben and I have done ER primarily. I've done some ICU as well. And those are both units where it is notorious for the nurses. It's almost like they take pride in the fact that they beat up the rookie nurses. And I don't know how they expect us to sustain ourselves. I don't understand how the people that help organize and lead nursing as a profession, the ANA and other organizations like that, have not stepped in and done more to try and curb this, because that has led to what has happened to Josh Day, or at least that's how I feel. Like, nurses believing that it's their right to treat other nurses like crap has now led to situations like this.
Yeah. My thing is that old phrase, because I hate that phrase, oh, nurses eat their young and all this other stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Sure, I don't really play that shit, because if I have an older nurse that's trying to bully me on the floor or whatever the case, or there's older nurse, whatever, that's been a nurse for 30-something years and they're trying to kind of bully me around and tell me, oh, yeah, this, I guess, eating their young. Look, I was in the Army for 10 years. I was in Afghanistan and all that other stuff. I've lived life. I'm not a 19-year-old new grad that thinks that they're a part of Grey's Anatomy. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
If someone tries to bully me like that, I tell them, hey, you can kiss my ass, basically. I've never had a problem really with that, and nor do I really foresee that. But do I think that it does happen? Absolutely. And again, I think it's a matter of really a weak individual. So I don't. It's not because I'm a Billy Badass. It's just nobody's gonna talk down to me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I understand. I don't mean in person. What I mean is, at some point, person of interest in Massachusetts had been bullied, and they have been allowed to bully new nurses. And so that attitude has now fostered into, oh, I see this guy I've never met and I don't know his story, so I can go ahead and just blow up this picture and send it to his administration. That's what I mean. I don't mean anybody in person would in particular pick on you or Ben or I. I mean that this pervasive attitude and culture of, I can treat people how I want, has now led to this. And I keep using the term lateral violence because that's technically what this would be. Would it be a case of lateral workplace violence?
Yeah.
But what it is them saying, well, I don't want to actually say this person and I don't know them, but I feel like I get to stick my nose in his business. And that's exactly what they did. And I think if we keep allowing these cultures on the individual basis to happen, when we have these big, large group forums on Facebook or wherever we have them, that culture is just going to seep and spread into those cultures as well.
There's a lady in New York. She runs a big company out there. I know she put out a $10,000 reward for the name of the person that turned me in.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Well,
that's stepping up.
She's been very blessed, fortunately, to be successful. So she's very passionate about that kind of stuff. And she runs a big company out there. And the vast amount of support that I've had has been, just like I said, it's been great, been overwhelming. And everybody, 99.99% of the people that have reached out to me, they've all tell me I should fight the case. Or at this point, why would you even want to fight to be at working for a place like that?
Yeah, no, I can understand that.
Exactly. But I think that's an individual, everyone's going to feel a little different, and you have to make the decision that's best for you. But wrapping up, Mr. Strickland, I guess I know Ben's going to probably have a question here in a minute, but for me, wrapping up, what is the message or what is the idea that you want our listeners to take away from this interview with you?
That I'm guilty of it. I would always think that posting stuff on social media, I would always say, oh, well, employers are never going to look. Like people just say that really to scare you. No, that actually happened. Not only did it affect me, it affected my family. Now I have to worry about benefits and things like that for my children. And it can be something as harmless as just doing what I did, where someone blew up my badge. People get on your social media and look and see where you work and will screw you over in the process. So I would say just be mindful of what you put out there. If it's a night out with the girls, I know there's people that run around in their scrub to work or whatever the case, or they meet somebody up at the bar for a bar and grill for a drink after work or something like that, and you're in your scrubs. I would not take a picture and post it on Facebook.
That's wise advice. So, Josh, I just want to kind of let you go out on a more positive note. Do you want to take just a couple minutes and talk about your band and then have them play us out as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been really blessed. One of the great things about being an RN is you can hold a second job. And so what I did was, all while I was in school, I was a singer. I grew up singing in the church where I'm from a small town called Walker, right in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And once I had already taken my NCLEX and everything, we put out a song that got a lot of radio play out here in the West Coast and back where I'm from. And we were able to do a lot of cool things, getting some magazines. We were even on Comedy Central and all that other good stuff. And so we play music, and we got an upcoming record that's coming out. And so while I'm looking for a new nursing job, I'm lucky to be able to at least have some source of income. I mean, granted, it doesn't have benefits and things like that come along with it, but I'm able to just, not be completely in the poorhouse, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what's the name of your band?
It's called the Bayou Bandits. We're on Facebook, Instagram. We got website, all that other fun stuff.
Okay, awesome. Tom, you got anything else you want to finish with, sir?
No. Josh, thanks for coming to talk to us. Thanks for your service. I hope you get a job soon and don't tell anybody about it.
Hey, guys, absolutely. Thanks for having me on y'all's show. I really appreciate the invite and hope all the best for y'all and y'all's podcast and all great things to come for y'all.